Yeah, good evening, everyone. My dear colleagues, our esteemed guest faculty, Anil ji, it is my honor and pleasure to welcome you all for this 12th online module of Self-Empowerment Program. This is our presidential program of Indian Fertility Society, and it is dedicated to rediscover oneself and regenerating mind, body, and soul. So, in this episode, we will be exploring the patterns that hold us back and learning strategies to break free from them. So, as we journey through this program, I hope you all will gain a deeper understanding of your thoughts, emotions, and behaviors, and you will be able to learn how to identify and challenge limiting patterns from our speaker and develop the skills to transcend them. So, our goal is to empower all of you with the tools and insights that need to transform your life. And I hope by the end of this session, you will be better equipped. So, to start this session, I'll invite our Dr. Geeta Khanna, madam. So, we have started with the program, madam. So, I would like, being the National Advisor of Indian Fertility Society, I welcome you and please give insights for this program.
So, as I already told that this is a very unique series what IFS has started, and in my lifetime, what I have seen, this is a very for the first time, an Indian Fertility Society has started so many such nice programs, and it is much needed, especially with our busy schedule and we being always helping, taking the pains of the humanity, doing work. You know, I cannot just describe what a doctor is. If you ask me, please describe what is the doctor. See, doctor will take pains of all the people, of the patient, of the employees. We can see in our work what we are doing, but nobody heals the healer. The healer is not healed. See, it's always in problem. So what I want to say is that they should understand the inner sense of their potential and empower one's own self rather than being surrounded by the negativity. See,
Yeah.
remain away from the negativity, culture, and empower beautiful virtues. Take time for yourself, take care of yourself. See, take care of your inner sense, maybe even mentally, physically, emotionally, and spiritually. All the
Great,
four things.
great. Thank you, madam. I
That is it.
found you always full of energy, energetic, always smiling. Thank you, madam, for your
सी
kind words.
जो आप दे सकते हो किसी को और उसके देने में भी आपका कुछ खर्चा भी नहीं हो रहा है तो क्या प्रॉब्लम है अगर किसी को मुस्कुराहटे और हीलिंग टच दे सकते हो मुझे लगता है जरूर दीजिए और आई टेल यू इट बाउंस बैक टू यू
Yes,
everything what you do good or bad bounces back to your own self. See,
yes,
it returns back to you. See? See, it's just like
yeah,
a ball. Throw with the which it will come back to you. So
yeah.
what I
Thank you.
say is, as you sow, you reap. And so I'm, you know, 99% of the doctors, they really are, I don't know, God give them strength, bless
Yeah,
them with a
madam,
good
that is
health.
why the need of this program. We move forward, and I would like to request our General Secretary of Indian Fertility Society, Dr. Shweta,
I can
for
I can see
the
Shweta smiling out.
liberation address. Yes, yes, something new to hear from her. Dr. Shweta,
Yes.
please.
Good evening, everyone, and we welcome the chief speaker, the chief guest, Anil Grover ji, who's the founder and CEO of Coherence Coach. We've heard so beautifully from Dr. Geeta ma'am. I think staying with you in itself is a moment of happiness. Every time we are with you, we are laughing and we are cherishing all the conferences you organize. Everybody feels great on the stage. I think that's also coherence. And Dr. Leena always every month organizes a very special meeting, which I'm made to read and reread that what it is about. Today it's about inner journey of coherence. It's a very new thing to me. Maybe I decipher that it is like having a control, अपनी इंद्रियों पे control होना, or maybe having more peace. I'm looking forward to hearing and learning. But as a doctor, I think how it can help not only controlling our day, but I feel that we are many a times in very difficult situations when we are dealing with complications and complicated cases. And if you are poised, then I think you will be in a better situation to think, act, and correct the situation. So I think I'm looking at different aspects of today's talk. And thank you so much, Dr. Leena, Dr. Bharti ma'am, Dr. Geeta, for organizing such wonderful sessions. So I'm handing over to Dr. Leena again and looking forward to a great session.
Yeah, thank you, Dr. Shweta, for the kind words. So I'll request Dr. Bharti Dhore Patil. Madam has joined from USA. So, Madam, can you hear us? I'll request Dr. Bharti Dhore Patil, Madam. She's the National Coordinator for Indian Fertility Society for this program, especially, and she keeps on guiding and supporting us. If Madam is there, she can introduce the speaker, or I'll will move forward. Madam, can you listen to us? So I think we move ahead. Thank you, Dr. Shweta. So Himanshu, can you?
Hello. Hi,
Yes,
hi, Leena. Hi,
Madam, it's nice
Leena.
to see you. We want
Good
to hear
evening,
your.
everybody, and thank you
Yeah.
so
Hello.
much. Hi, Shweta. Hi, Dr.
Hi,
Geeta.
ma'am.
No, I think you can introduce this Mr. Anil because I am right now not able to
Yeah, Madam.
connect.
I'll
Yeah,
thank you for joining. Thank you so much for
but
joining.
I'm there. I'm there.
Yeah,
Thank
your
you. Thank you.
support
Thank you.
is
Thank you.
always needed. Thank you. So I take the privilege and honor to invite our speaker for today's session, Mr. Anil Grover ji. He's founder and CEO, Coherence Coach, Atmatva.com. So he embodies more than 17 years of experience in coaching and facilitation for individuals, leaders, and organization in diverse industries. More than 19 plus years of experience in corporate leadership, especially he has been CEO of Motorola, and he brings a unique confluence of Western and Indian wisdom, and he is an alumni of IIT Roorkee and IIT Delhi, and he has a lot of good work including group facilitation, action learning, and a collaborative culture to his credit. And he loves to share his 36 plus years of experience through his master classes on leadership in the age of AI. He's based in Hyderabad and easily approachable and connectable. And I was talking to Anilji about the spiritual connect also, which he has with the Orbindo, and that was nurtured through his parents and both his elder sisters, both of are doctors. And he is a certified yoga therapist also and into yoga sutras, and he's a special session he takes on awakening Arjuna. And maybe if we get, maybe in the future, if we get another session, we would like to listen to that. So with this, I will request Anilji to please start the session.
Thank you. Himanshu, is the video enabled, and can we request everyone to put on the videos, please?
Yes, sir. Videos are enabled.
Can I request everyone to come on video before I share the slides? And Himanshu, I'll be able to share the slides directly, right?
Yes, sir.
So can I request everyone to put on the videos, because it's only the audience, when I can see them, they will receive whatever gets drawn from me. Very difficult for me to talk to black boxes.
So Himanshu, have you enabled them?
Yes, he says he is, and people are turning on.
Okay.
And I know it's 7:40, so it's time where people have family dinner, this and other going on, but it's okay. Whatever is state you're in, you're most welcome. But it's important to actually be able to see. And as even as you all turn on your videos, I will share my.
Yeah.
So the first thing is actually being in the here and now. So we also, especially post-COVID, there is tendency and to go off and just quickly check what's come on the WhatsApp. So at least for the next 40 minutes or so, my request is if we can make sure we are not going into WhatsApp and we have our video on and we are truly in the here and now. And while I have certain things that I am going to present, I'm also going to honor what is the emergence. So that's why it's important to see what is really experienced. So let me just change my mode so that I can see more of you. I still see a lot of black boxes. All right. So, and of course, while the learning is there, let's have enjoy that. Himanshu, just another check. If people need to, for instance, if somebody wants to uh, ask a question, there is some interaction. I don't know how it will unfold. They will be
They
able to
can put
unmute
the question
themselves,
in
or
the
will you
chat
need
tab.
to enable?
Sir, they can
Yeah.
put the question in the chat box.
All right. So let me put on the chat box for myself also. So,
Yeah. But just keep them muted till the session. And when Anilji says, you can unmute them.
Yes, ma'am.
all right. So let me just also put my chat box in my attention span. All right. So let's begin. So I want you to look at this. Now, I put this together, I think 9 years back. The lens I'm going to use today is the archetype of human development. And I'm going to talk about 7-year phases. So, and why it is important and how does it connect to the self-empowerment is only when we begin to see our own patterns of life can we begin to dissolve some of them. So at a very, very simple level, uh, I think I was doing a workshop in probably 2017 or 16. And that's when I put this together as a simple thing. This is not in the 7-year cycle, that will come next. But some of the questions you may be able to resonate with if you look back. And at this point, what I would like you to do is in the chat box. And I'm a trained biography consultant, so it's important to know the age. So I ask, even if you are a lady, can you put in what is your age? Because how I share and how much I share about what phase will be dependent on what am I seeing about the participant profile. So if you can just put in just a number. If you are 47, just say put 47 there. And 64, you're 64 there. So that's actually very helpful for me to then focus on the relevant things more. So youngest so far is 21 and eldest so far is 60 something, 45. And please don't be shy. Please put in the numbers. So far we have everything from 21 to 63 out there, 64 out there. Excellent. And as you continue putting your numbers there and as you continue putting your videos on, let's look at what is biography work. Um, Now, there is 100 years of literature, and there's a lot of psychologists and psychiatrists around the world have done immense amount of work. There's an ocean of work out there. So my interest in this space came in after I relocated from Delhi to Hyderabad, and I got in touch with this whole science which I had no clue growing up in Delhi and spending the first 3 decades of my life in Delhi, that, oh, there is this ocean out there and this looks very, very interesting. Now, if you look at that curve, as doctors, you're very aware that in the first 21 years of the life, as the body is developing and our emotions are developing, and it's around 21 to 24 that we develop the discrimination capability. That's why boys can get married only after 21, right? And then 21 to 42 is the phase where we are at our maximum capacities. As fertility experts, when people come to you, oh, biology clock is kicking, ticking. As sports people, we know there may be exceptions like Sachin Tendulkar, who can play on till 42 also, but most people in the late 30s start feeling, and like Virat Kohli, they take a step back in the late 30s itself, and there is a reason for that. And what happens is, at 42, there are three possibilities. If we have done the inner work, and the need for inner work starts at 28, and I'll come to that in a moment. If we are doing the inner work, then the best possibility is that as the forces are withdrawing from the body, we have the chance to become wise. And that's the curve A. If we try and continue to do exactly what we were doing in our 30s and 20s, then that's a path B. And you would encounter, even as doctors, in patients that you see. And I mean, I was 2-year-old when my elder sister went to Lady Harding, and I was 5-year-old, 6-year-old when my second sister went to Lady Harding in 1970s. And so I've seen the medical profession from up close and wanted to be a doctor myself till 11th grade, and joined the biology's ability section of DPS RK wanting to be a doctor. But then I guess the dissection they made me do in the biolab made me go to IIT rather than do this. So, but it's important that we recognize that B, and this you see even more in some of the stressful jobs. You would have seen the layoffs that are happening in the tech space, for instance. Uh, you're aware that how artificial intelligence is fundamentally changing the shape of jobs in many contexts. So even in to be parents coming to you, many from various spaces, you would see how things have changed. How you would have seen how some of the people who have grown up in the social media age, we call them the anxious generation. There's a book on it. How, as they are entering their 40s, what is the impact? So in B, we encounter many challenges around heart-related issues and others. We'll come to that when we come to the appropriate point. The C is where, as the forces withdraw from the body, we also decline in a world. In the past, I remember at my parents' age, they would work for the first 60 years. In my dad's case, after he retired from IIT Delhi at 60, he worked another 10 years in High Court and Supreme Court. So till 70, he was very active. But that was an exception. Most people, when they retired at 58 or 60, you would see that suddenly from a position of power, there was a fast decline. And there was that reason was uh, they went down the curve C very, very quickly. Now, if in the first 21 years, we call it nature karma. We are being born in a certain family, we have a certain education, and so we look at 7 years by 7 years, and a 7 years is a septennial. And as we look at it, I have indicators of what are the key things that signify that septennial, and certain questions which are kind of trigger questions for you to reflect. And you have, it's always helpful as something is getting triggered, you can make certain notes for it, because later on you can, reflect more on it. Now, when we do this kind of an exercise, it's very important that we do this phenomenologically. What does that mean? It means we don't get dragged into the same emotion I felt at that time. I'm able to, from a space of equanimity, look at what is the incident that happened and what is the inner experience. What is the feeling I had at that time? So it's not also just the description of this person said this and that. How did I feel when that incident happened is the important part of it. So incident and inner experience, and yet done from equanimity as if you are looking at a movie, so that you are not kind of sucked into the emotion of it. This is a picture of when my son was 1 year old in 1999, and we were in Delhi, uh, and how, and when I was in the first 7 years, growing up in IIT Delhi campus, and I think I was a toddler when my dad established a window study circle at our residence. With my birth in Wellington Hospital, we moved to IIT Delhi. Uh, and the first 7 years, or the first 20 years for that matter, were very protected for me. And the first 7 years are about trust, because you have to experience a stability, and many people don't. And that's the reality of life. And when we look at the overall lens, and later we will see that there are implications of not experiencing that trust. Like in case of my own father, his mother died when he was one, and he didn't have a stepmother who treated him well, and that had huge implications on how his personality shaped up and how he viewed the world as hostile. Whereas I got two sisters who were 15 and 10 years elder to me, and parents who were doting, so I actually got a completely contrasting cocoon when I grew up, and that's very important for us to know. Then comes the next 7 years, and this is where the rhythms form. So, as doctors, you recognize that two important things are happening physiologically. The heart and the lungs are really developing during this 7 to 14. Heart is about relations, lungs is breathing in and out, it is how we interact with the world. Also, this is the period where we develop habits. So, it's extremely important what kind of sleep habits we have at this time. And that's become so much more difficult in today's day and age with the screen time and the social media than it was when we were growing up. And around 9 is a very important time where, for the first time, emotionally, I see myself separate from my parents. And I begin to not share certain things. I may even begin to lie. And again, 12, pre-puberty is again a very significant period, pre-adolescence, that is there. Uh, so, when we look at this, we begin to see, so this is what happened. So while the first 7 years, we may not have too many memories, we may have to rely on some of the elders in the family. Around 8, we have begun to develop many memories. So we are able to nail down, this is what happened as the incident and the inner experience during this phase. And then, I don't know whether you recognize this, when I put this picture way back in 2017-18 timeframe, this person had just come on the scene. This is actually Rishabh Pant, who, when I made this slide set in 2018 or so, he had just burst on the scene, both his debut in T20 and the test. Today, of course, you know him very well. And so now, of course, he's not in this septennial, he's in the next septennial. But essentially, this is a very key point. While the previous septennial, the 7 to 14, is about beauty, beauty in relationships. This septennial is about truth. We really wish to know what is true. And after 12, telling stops working. You cannot tell somebody that do this. You have to live that. Secondly, they will bang their door and say no entry. If you wish to have a relationship with them, you need to be able to connect them to role models beyond the parents now they can look up to. And if that doesn't happen, that's when a lot of challenges happen around drugs and fast mobiles and others, because in some way, they're seeking that thrill. And so, and of course, and yet they have yet not developed the discrimination power, and yet uh, there is the reproductive organs and the attractions that have come alive. And so this whole dynamics is going on. And in the 19th year, there is a glimpse of what would they like to do in life, but it is fleeting. Unfortunately, in India, in our 19th year, we are well into our uh, college degree already. I know, some of the German volunteers we get sometimes in some of the schools here, they spend a year in India after their 12th grade. And I think that's beautiful because they get to see a different country they've never experienced. And by the time they go back and choose what they want to do with life, usually they're 19 and they make a more conscious choice based on who they are. Uh, Previously, of course, in our times, it would be you had to be a doctor or engineer. Now, there are many professions that have opened up, but unfortunately, still that's chosen much before we hit that first time in 19th year when we have that glimpse. So, with that, that's more relevant for you in as as professionals, as conscious parents yourself, or when you work with others who are parents, once your procedures are successful or you work closely with pediatricians, how can they be conscious parents? But the next phase, 21 to 42, is very, very key when we go out in the world and have our jobs, have our marriages, children, and a lot happens during this phase. So let's look at what happens in these 21 years, the affinity. So while in the first 21 years we were getting the information about various things through our studies, now we are converting the information into knowledge through the work we do. So 21 to 28, this is a period where we, with interest, go out in the world. And 25 years is a very, very interesting point. We call it crisis of talents, where, how does it manifest? Nowadays, you would see in your children, for instance, ah, I can get a 30% raise and change my job. I can take GRE and go abroad and do MS. I can take GMAT or CAT and do MBA. I can just quit and do a startup. These dilemmas are not accidental. These are part of the archetype of human development, which works across time, gender, race, nationalities, and is relevant for all of us. It's just that the context now provides even more such opportunities. So the dilemmas have also become very acute. Around 28, we hit what we call the 0 point. Beyond this, all the inner work needs to be done on our own. Till 28, we are kind of carried. The metaphor I often use is if you're driving a car and suddenly your car stops. And till this point, you did not even know that there is a fuel tank. You did not even know that you need to fill petrol in it. And for the first time, you need to do that. Otherwise, you splutter on, but you are running on reserve. So um, this is where things, people, even when they're doing very well in life outwardly, some of the inner turmoil begins. And you can look at your own life, what you experience as doctors. It's a much longer training and internship and MD and all. So after that, what happened would be more interesting. Then the 28 to 35 years. This in some way mirrors the 7 to 14 when the heart and lung were developing. And this is where we have a new way of connecting to life. This is when we are learning, what do we do? This is a difficult period, but it is also a period that we come in balance. We learn to manage in the world. This is also a period where between 30 and 33, we effectively have to die an inner death and be completely reinvent ourselves. For me, 31 and a half or so was when I relocated from Delhi to Hyderabad. Just a few months before that, I refused relocation to San Jose to head the team there in California. So I was like, if I have to come to Hyderabad, where I'd never visited, I did not know one person, I laughed initially. But life just has its way and it finds a way, and it happens in ways we can't even predict or anticipate. And then very interesting things happen 35 to 42. One is, for the first time after 35, we begin to see that not everything is a problem to be solved. There are polarities or paradoxes to be held. This is a period where we begin to develop the discernment, which is different from the discrimination we got at 21. The discernment that, oh, I can't solve everything. There are these chronic and complex issues, but how do I hold these paradoxes? I begin to do that. Much of my 40s and a lot of 50s might be spent actually developing that capacities more. That picture is quite representative of our inner experience usually as we approach our midlife crisis. And at the 38th year, just like at the 19th year, we had the inkling, at 38th year, we have the second important key point where we see, we have a glimpse, which is much deeper now, where we start asking some fundamental questions. What is the meaning of my life, and do I want to be doing what I was doing earlier, and how do I want to be shaping it? Uh, Maybe not so much in the medical profession yet, though even that is changing. Recently, I was giving a keynote at the Health 360, and I met these folks who were heading hospitals, including someone from Apollo who was the radiology person. And as AI is dramatically shifting that landscape, or other hospitals also, as things are shifting, because my theme was on future of medicine, it's very interesting how some of the people are taking the plunge. The person who recommended that I come here, who's also been a close friend and client, Dr. Mankul, when I started coaching him, he was in this period. And over the last couple of years, I've worked with him, and how he has brought Sampurnam, which is the integrative and holistic medicine, alive in the last 2 years is amazing. And then comes our mission karma. I'll let you read, I won't read that. But essentially, when we hit 42, we usually say we become a complete human being around 42. What does that mean? What that means is now there are two things to be done. We have to find our destiny, work, and live it. So destiny is not some fate. It's not predetermined. But we have certain propensities. We have certain gifts we were born with. We have developed some capacities through our training, whether we became doctors or engineers, and certain capacities as leaders, whatever we have developed. And the question we are now asking is, how do I serve the world beyond just myself and my family? And but it is not an easy path. Most of pretty much all of 40s are quite difficult as we strive to discover this, because it is not something you will have as a clear-cut thing that will come up as a statement. It is something that, as we engage with it, comes up in ways. So let's look at it, what happens. So what tends to happen is, those of us who are and not seeing on the inner path, that inner work. So we are finding our validation from our material possession. Have I got the Mercedes, the Audis, and the BMWs? Have I got the mansion I want? And have I got the 10 crore plus balance? When I'm looking at that, and when even that is not sufficient, what happens is we seek in various ways, uh, the holidays abroad and other, but some part of vacuum remains. There are others who recognize at a point that yes, uh, we have our comforts in life, but what is it that we want to do? For instance, when I was heading Motorola Computer Group, I quit at 40, though I had no bosses or peers in India, and I was paid very well and I had complete autonomy. And I was, because partly because I became a senior leader very early in my mid 20s, but partly because I said I'm the product and I want to discover and reinvent myself in my 40s rather than wait till my 50s when the energy levels go down. This is where the striving piece comes in. The the word coherence. Why do I call myself a coherence coach? And how did I choose the phrase Atmatva for my company that I founded in my 40s? Was exactly this. So Atmatva means Atma and Tattva, which is matter and spirit. You cannot separate that. Material and the spiritual can never be separated. And it means essence in Sanskrit, which is finding the essence. So when I've done this program, I've often named it life metamorphosis, which is living from essence. And metamorphosis is fundamental shift, like a butterfly. And so when I created Atmatva, uh, and the coherence word was a more recent word I coined from Indic wisdom, where usually we are used to operating in the world in a very transactional way. And we begin to discover as we learn to hold polarities. Remember, I told you 35 to 42, we develop the capacity of discernment, or that not everything is a problem to be solved. So in our 40s, we are further developing that capacity, and we begin to see what will enliven me, others, and the context simultaneously. That I call the enlivening field. Beneath that is the coherence field. And that to me is not only your thoughts, feelings, and words and actions are aligned, but you are in flow. That's you. That's the Federer or a Sachin Tendulkar in full flow, where even the knowing drops. So some of you, when you are truly absorbed with your clients or any other context where you are in flow, that is the true coherence. And in the helping profession, as a doctor, if you have to serve your patients well, and what does that serving mean? You need, uh, you are enlivened, they are enlivened, and the context is enlivened, in which case the outcomes are achieved, the IVF is successful, and other, as well as there are emotional elements of that. It's not just as a transactional thing. There are many emotional elements there. If that has to be served, you have to work at one level layer. You have to be grounded in coherence if they have to be enlivened. And then the physiological elements have to play out such that they become parents. And many of you are in this period of 49 to 56. So in the 56th year, very crucial, that's the time, the 19th and the 38th were two times. Third time, which is very crucial. And why is it crucial? Because that's one of the, that's in a way the final chance for mission alignment in this life. It doesn't mean that you will not continue contributing even at 80 or 90. It just means everything comes together around this time if you have continued to do the inner work. And many times, life will create events. So life is very wise. If you don't do the inner work, no problem. First of all, Buddha took 1,000 lives, so there's no hurry. Second, life says, I will anyway orchestrate situations. Whatever you are not learning, it'll show up in again and again in different ways, in different contexts, till you actually are willing to unpack it, until you are willing to discover what in me it needs to heal. So, as doctors, we need to heal the parts of us which we are not even clear. And you cannot solve these things. You cannot resolve these things. The healing ground only happens when you see clearly. When I'm in equanimity and I can see my inner drama with full clarity, then it dissolves. So that's the theme of Awakening Arjuna, which maybe in a future thing we'll do. How do we even do that? But at this point, knowing that that red purpose point for you to even arrive at that, it requires a healing ground inside, and expression can then flow from coherence. And then this period is where we begin to truly the seeding process, the wisdom process, where we are now able to give back in ways that are very, very powerful. And there are things beyond this from 63 to 84 also I have. So when as part of a multi-year training program that I did with Karl-Heinz Finke, and the third year I had to take a thesis. My thesis was on Abdul Kalam, which is because, and I chose him because of A, my huge respect for him in his various roles, and B, his 84 years of his life gave me the full 12 septennials. I've talked about 9 septennials, and I found some very interesting mirrors. So I will show you how this show up in a table. Don't be intimidated by the denseness of the table. Uh, it, and I'll tell you how to read this. And I have a simpler version after the thing in case in Q&A we may use it. But how we read it is the first column is, of course, just describing what it is. The second, third, fourth column, how you do it is the first 21 years you come from top to bottom. Then 21 to 42, you are going from bottom to up in this third column. And 42 to 63, you are going bottom to up in the last column. And what are the significant milestones in life? What is the essence of what is happening? And what is that septennial associated with is captured. So again, I've not used the version I developed. I used directly Carl's more recent version, which I felt was fairly nice and exhaustive to share. But what I want you to take away based on what I described as the 9 phases is, uh, if we focus on the 20, we have 21 to 64 here. So if you go into the orange looking column and start from the bottom. Now there, I spoke about the 0 point. I spoke about then the next phase, the 29 to 35, which is about equanimity balance, and I is inner and O is outer development. And spoke some of the encounters we have, and that's when many of the marriages and other things happen. And I spoke about the 38th year, the crisis of meaning, uh, which etc. that happen, and how the question of is this truly going to give me meaning is there. And then if you again come down in the last column, the midlife crisis as we strive in the 42 to 49. And then the middle phase you will see is around how we begin to approach harmony in our 50s, and then how it is wise. Now, why have we put this in this form? Don't worry about all the words there. When we map our life in a certain way in a panorama chart like this, and again, there is a when I work with my clients, I get them to put the incidents and inner experiences in that chart, and it's very interesting. Then I can begin to see patterns. And I'll give you one example from Abdul Kalam's life when I was presenting. I'm not telling, when I say biography work or life story work, I'm not telling his life story. That life story is mapped like this, and I'm looking for patterns. And I discovered a very, very fascinating pattern. I found that when he was maybe 16, 17, he was in his intermediate, Gandhi was assassinated. And so he went into depression. And he came back to his little town, and he grew up in a very interesting town uh, right at the tip of the southern part of India. And he had gone for his intermediate a little further away. Uh, So he came back, and for 3 months, he just shut himself up in his room because he was so depressed. Very, very fascinating. If you just go along the horizontal line, in his 20s, pretty much to the year, in the 21 to 28 phase, which the year that mirrored this period, he wanted to become an Air Force officer and he appeared for the test. 8 out of 10 people were selected. He was rejected by point zero something marks, and for some eyesight or some issue happened. And I remember he went to either Haridwar or Rishikesh and found his guru. And so there was something major transition happened with his failure to get the profession of his choice. And when I then went to the seventh septennial, which is the blue one at the bottom right, and again saw the mirror right corresponding to that year, was the year when he was responsible for a particular space mission. He was a director of that space mission, and that very year it crashed. And like his character was, he came out, he did a press conference, protected his team, and said, "Look, we'll come back in a year. It's okay." Now, this mirroring of his failures, I also did mirroring of his successes, including his awards like Bharat Ratna and many other things. I did many other aspects around his karmic things because we had to present it for our thesis in a certain way. But I'm just sharing how things show up. Illnesses, when we look at the kind of illnesses, Carl was telling me about, in his case, when he was working with a client, and there was some very peculiar illness that was not there, or a chronic illness. And he discovered when he mapped this chart that there was a relation to the house movements that that client in Europe was doing. And very, very interesting. As soon as that seeing happens of the pattern, the beauty about seeing patterns is you cannot unsee it once you've seen it. So based on that seeing, the whole thing shifted. Now, the homework I'm going to give you is, uh, if you take a piece of art, I know as doctors, you're so used to writing prescriptions or working from your mind, but it's very powerful. If you can create a river of life in the different septennial and see what twists and turns has the river taken. What have been the key turning points? And look at it as if you're a bird and you're looking at the river from up. And what has been the important life moments from the birth to the current age? And what have been the challenges? What have been discoveries? And with that, you do that art, it'll bring up many things from spheres of intelligence which go much beyond the intellect and is very powerful step for us to discover. When we do this in workshops, then we actually can go to create the river of the future also, but that's a more advanced designing your life. But first, can we begin to see our life till this point and the important twists and turns and the turning points that have been there? And remember, incidents and experiences, inner experiences, both are important. So at, at the age of 32, an incident of my relocation from Delhi to Hyderabad and my inner experience of, because I actually was starting subsidiary of a Boston-based company, was delight. So with that, I'll take a pause and see what are the questions that are coming up and request everyone to put on the videos for the questions.
Yeah, thank you, Anil ji. But I think before we take up the questions which come up in the chat box, can you give some clue how they should go about, like you talked about the river, the flow. So how should they chart out year-wise their experiences?
I will share a link with you, Leena ji, which is an editable PDF from Karl Heinz's site itself, which I
Okay.
usually share with my clients to fill in that. There's a lot of work that has gone into designing that and filling that in. So that is the best way for people to chart out, because they can fill in their date of, and it's free. So they can fill in their date of birth, and it then creates that particular septennial panorama chart, and then they can fill in the incidents and experiences.
Okay. So by filling it, one can know more of themselves, discover oneself, which,
One can begin to see the patterns. One does need to work with a trained biography consultant, and there are people worldwide who do this. In fact, we are going to have the first international conference hosted in India. We usually do that in Europe every other year in September in Pondicherry. Uh, but for instance, even though I'm trained, so I usually also refer some of my clients to another colleague in Bangalore who can, over 6 sessions or so, help septennial by septennial math. But they begin to see. What happens is the very exercise of filling it, the very exercise of drawing the river, brings in awareness and consciousness that was not there. So even if they don't proceed with any work with anyone else, it's hugely beneficial as doctors and as professionals in the helping profession to do this for self, to empower oneself, because that creates an awareness which otherwise would not be there.
yeah, and it is very interesting to know that by creating these septennials, which you have told, we can know what next in our life, what stands in future, and how can I think we do something better and bring something better from our inner self.
And how the unfolding can actually happen as a human being. And it's this archetype, it's an archetype. So it is true for everybody. So it's not that, and yet, even if the outer circumstances look a little different, the inner unfolding is true for everybody.
Yeah, yeah. So that's very interesting to learn. I think something has begun unfolding from today itself, that we have learned something new from you. So that's very great. So any questions if anyone has? The Himanshu, you can even unmute the participants now.
And also videos on, so we can at least now see everybody in the last 6 minutes before we close the meeting.
Yeah. So I'll request the participants who have been keenly listening to
क्या
these
मासूम जी का
suggestions
फोन है
and
तुमसे बात
changes.
करना चाहते हो शायद हेलो
Yes, yes, madam. Hanji, ma'am, Dr. Geeta, ma'am, we can.
इट्स ओके आई रियली हर्ड एवरीथिंग
Yeah.
अनिल
Yes.
मासूम जी 5 मिनट बाद बात करते हैं 5 मिनट बाद
Hanji, madam, आप कुछ पूछना चाहेंगे?
नहीं नहीं बस हमने बस वो ऑन कर रहे थे वीडियो
मैडम कुछ
बाद
लाइफ का
में बात
एक्सपीरियंस एज पर दी सेप्टेनियल्स व्हाट अनिल जी वाज टॉकिंग,
या
ये हर उम्र में जो चेंजेस आते हैं ना लाइफ में, जैसे जैसे आगे बढ़ते जाते हैं अपने को
हाँ
ना आगे बढ़ना।
और आप काफी वाइज और कूल होते जाते हैं वाइज और
हाँ,
कूल होते हैं
सबसे इम्पोर्टेंट अपने आप को समझना,
तो
दैट
कह
इज
तो रहे हैं
वेरी,
वाइज और कूल होते जाते हैं
या डॉक्टर ज्योति, एनीथिंग यू वुड लाइक टू आस्क? डॉक्टर भारती मैडम, कैन यू
Yes.
unmute
हम्म,
It was something different perspective altogether. I just wanted Stanil to tell every individual has a different phase of awakening
उनको
or
पूछना तो मैं
understanding inner self.
5 मिनट बाद बात
You know,
करूंगी
some, as you said, maybe
चल
45 to 56
पांच
years,
मिनट
but
बाद बात
sometimes,
करूंगी
because if I think Dr. Geeta can be muted. Huh.
yeah, I've
So
made.
if I look at the way you said that map the river, if you look at my own things, I did not realize to be in need till the age of almost 55 or 56 years. I just did not know anything. I was only, to be very honest, to be very frank, I just was very ambitious and there's no end to it. Like, I never realized that nothing can be not done. It can be done, each and everything. Like, you have the capacity and you'll do it. You'll do it. I never realized there is a end to it or something you just can't do. That first time hit me in one incident where I worked very hard. I just by one say mark or one vote, it would just not happen. It just simply made me understand that, oh, even if you do everything, sometimes it doesn't happen. And then the journey started. Why? And this all. So this can happen at say 40 years, as you were very lucky that you did happen to you at 40, 42, or 45. Probably in IT professions, IIT or these all people, you earn very fast earlier and you reach to certain stage very early. For doctors, it is like we start our journey by 24 and actually we start consultation or yourself at 29, 30 years and then the journey starts. So our journey is little late. So because unless you achieve, your satiety is not complete. So do you agree to that, that it happens with different phase?
So I would not call it phase. What happens is, first of all, it's possible that inner work may not happen at all for 99% of the people. So this is not saying that just because a life situation is bringing a certain condition, they will actually go through inner work. That's not my contention. Second, so for instance, my sisters, one of them was heading the anesthesia department in Fortis Hospital in Vasant. Kunj other was heading the CGHS in South Delhi. And with them, I can't necessarily have this conversation. I have other conversations, and they are now in the 60s and 70s. Uh, so it's not about the frame. Each in their own way will become wise, like Dr. Geeta rightly said, and some may not. And like I said, at least in India, it's very easy for us to know that there are hundreds or thousands of lifetimes. It's okay. Uh, and you are absolutely right. 56 is a very important point. If we have not encountered the inner work, and honestly, when a number of clients in Delhi in the late 40s, 50s, there it is more difficult than I found here in Hyderabad, where there's a different consciousness, even within India. And there's a different consciousness when I work with people in Europe or US. Uh, what I find is that life usually in mid 50s presents us with either the kind of situation you were alluding to, where there is, despite the best effort, there's a failure, or a sudden event which is catastrophic, or a illness that is detected, or in a family member or self, which forces us to awaken. So these awakening moments comes, we may cope with it, or we may choose to heal. And that, as doctors, we need to understand there's a difference between coping and healing. Coping is when I'm just seeing, okay, how can I distract myself to reduce the pain? Healing is this inner work which will truly create the ground for me to transcend the patterns and then blossom.
Very right. Very right. Absolutely. I got it.
Nobody
Yes.
grows. I want to.
Coping and healing is outwardly it looks same, but it is not the same.
Not at
You
all.
have to heal completely. Yes, very good. Perfect, perfect,
And
perfect.
another thing, what I just want to say one thing, uh, Dr. Bharati, and
Yes,
see,
yes.
yeah, what happens as you grow older in this age group, you stop aggression, as you said,
Mm.
and
Correct.
then you take your minor failures or the failures of others in a very
Mm.
natural way.
Correct.
Oh,
Very.
what is the sky may not fall on your head. What has happened? No problem. When
Mm.
there was
Mm.
something like, when you were very aggressive at your young age and you felt very badly and everything used to hurt you. And as you grow, what happens? Then you say, अरे क्या हुआ? यही तो हुआ, कोई दिक्कत नहीं, क्या हो गया? उसने तुम्हारे लिए ऐसा बोल दिया, अरे तो क्या हुआ? उसको इसका ऐसे ही लग रहा होगा, उससे क्या फर्क
Mm.
पड़ता है? सो यू बिकम लाइक दैट कि आपको क्या फर्क पड़ता है? कुछ भी फर्क नहीं पड़ता।
Mm.
ऐसा ऐसा कुछ होने लगता है, समथिंग
Yes.
that is what, when you grow up, when you as you age mentally,
I
I
think,
think.
uh, Dr. Leena, there's a nice question in the chat box. I think that's very, very relevant because see, as you grow is different, but how to shape up the young generation or your own small children at home? This is a very nice
So
question.
in
Can you
fact, in
just
fact, Jyoti ji, if you can ask the question, I would like to hear the tonality of the question from where you are approaching.
correct? Wow, this is good.
If you can unmute yourself, Jyoti ji, and ask. You're on mute, so please unmute yourself.
Yeah. Hello. Yeah. It was very different kind of, listening today. So, because, as we grew, we had certain spiritual orientation. Now we want to inculcate that in our, young adults or adolescent children. So, if whatever we say, they don't listen at that age. So, is it possible that we can shape them as we want, or it will happen as they grow with their own pace?
How
Excellent
to awaken
questions.
them? How to
Excellent
awaken?
question. So there are two or three points I want to make.
Yeah.
For me, for instance, I had early spiritual experiences even before I had the cognitive and emotional understanding in the first 7 years itself because of the environment I grew up in. We had daily meditation at home. There was Sri Aurobindo's study circle at residence. Uh, Now, when I was a parent, so I quit my corporate life when my daughter was 7 and my son was 10. And my stories in that 7 to 14 or 7 to 12 are very important for inculcating values. So my daughter used to challenge me every night when I put her to sleep. Tell me a story which you have not read. You can't read a story. So I didn't know when I started a story where it would finish, but stories are the best way from whether children under 12, whether they're young or 7 to 12, to inculcate values. But from the adolescence, they have to see you embody it. That's the time they have to see you to be vulnerable. You can't be the superwoman and superman saying, we are all fine. You have to now change your relationship with them and authentically share your own challenges while also still being a parent. Telling will not work, so you will need to connect them to other people they can be inspired with. And finally, you will find a lot of young adults or people at adolescence and early 20s who go for these spiritual programs, uh, Isha, Art of Living, and a bunch of others. Now, on a surface level, it may seem they're already spiritual, but they have not engaged with the world yet. So, what happens is, unless we individuate, we really cannot experience true oneness. So, we may, at a surface level, seem to be very spiritual, uh, but we will experience life in different ways. So, our from 21 on to 35 at least, it's our time to really engage with the world. So encouraging yourself being authentic when your children are 14 to 21 or 12 to 21, and you're allowing them to truly engage with the world, and even asking yourself, I need to shape them. That world is gone. Our parents, we are the sandwich generation. We couldn't speak up to our parents, and our children speak up to us, and we can't actually tell them anything. We are the sandwich generation.
Exactly. Thank you.
Yeah. So, any other query? Any of our participants would like to ask or discuss any other issue? Okay. So, thank you, Anilji. One last message. Anything you would like to give for our audience before we close the session?
No, I think it's very nice that over the last year you have been investing once a month in self. I am a big believer in unless those in the helping profession, and I work with leaders, coaches, educators, and doctors and healers. Uh, unless we invest in ourselves and create what I call as the healing ground,
Yes.
unless we heal our own inner child, unless we truly dissolve all the hurts we have, which are, you know, solving. So the message I would want to leave you with is at the end of the day, it's about can I discover my propensities, who I am? Can I truly make choices where I'm enlivening myself, others, and the context simultaneously? And can I do this out of freedom, where it is not coming from my old conditioning or the social conditioning, or this is how things have always been done? That's our journey. And that's the theme of Awakening Arjuna.
Yeah. So, thank you, Anilji. So, we will continue with our transformative journey. And it was nice to have you associated with us today for this session. Thank you so much. And for the participants, this will be available. This video recording will be available on website of Indian Fertility Society. Later on, also this you can go through it, and we'll continue further also every month with this online module, which we have usually at the end of the month. And we hope to meet you all again for the next session. So stay connected with us. Thank you, everyone. I'll thank the participants and thank you, Anilji, for being connected with us today.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Yeah,
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
All the very best.
Thank you.
thank you. So we close the session now. Okay.